Will a historic summit between North Korean and American leaders be stopped before it begins? That's the first subject we're exploring today on CNN 10. I'm Carl Azus. We're glad you're watching. Here's what's going on. Earlier this week, North Korea said it was suspending its planned high-level talks with South Korea. Those had been scheduled for Wednesday, but the North is angry about something that's happening right now between South Korea and the United States, who are close allies. They're holding their annual Air Force drills. They've been doing military drills together for years. They say they're for defensive purposes, but the exercises have always angered North Korea, who sees them as threats or preparations for an invasion. Back in March, when North Korea's leader invited America's president to meet, the White House was told that dictator Kim Jong-un understands that the military exercises between South Korea and the U.S. would go on. But this week, North Korea said the exercises violated an agreement between the two Koreas that they would stop all hostile acts against each other. So North Korea called off its talks with the South, and then it went a step further, saying, quote, "If the United States is trying to drive us into a corner to force our unilateral nuclear abandonment, we will no longer be interested in such dialogue." Getting North Korea to give up its nuclear weapons is the main demand of the U.S. So what happens now? Analysts say it's not likely that North Korea will cancel talks with the U.S., and the Trump administration says North Korea's threats were an expected bump in the road in dealing with an unpredictable North Korean leader. In fact, just months ago, many analysts wouldn't have predicted the two nations would even be planning talks with one another.
Talk about a U-turn. In just a few short months, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has gone from launching intercontinental ballistic missiles to meeting with world leaders. How did that happen? It all comes down to one word: denuclearization. Basically, much of the world wants Kim to give up his nuclear arsenal, an arsenal he's been building for most of his 6 years in power. Would he actually do that?
I think the recent comments, mostly coming from South Korea, about North Korea's willingness to discuss denuclearization, actually miss the point.
That's Allison Evans. She analyzes Asia-Pacific security risks.
North Korea has said it's willing to discuss denuclearization when security on the peninsula is guaranteed. And I think that's what we need to focus on how the definition of denuclearization differs between North Korea and the other parties.
Evans says Kim has one goal: to stay in power. He sees the American nuclear umbrella as a real threat. Nuclear weapons are like an insurance policy, giving North Korea leverage over more powerful enemies like the U.S. So what would it take for denuclearization to go from just talk to reality?
There are probably smaller scale things that North Korea might request behind closed doors, but ultimately North Korea would be seeking things like a peace treaty with the United States and or South Korea.
Kim announced he's stopping nuclear tests and scaling back his missile program. But to go farther, analysts say he'll expect big concessions from President Trump. What could those be? Guarantees he'll stay in power, for one, also relief from sanctions, and even normalized relations with the U.S., if Kim agrees to take verifiable steps towards denuclearization.
First of all, I don't think that North Korea is anywhere near giving up its nuclear weapons at this stage. I think there would be sort of first steps towards denuclearization that might happen first. First and foremost, it would be stopping operations at a light water reactor in North Korea. Another example would be allowing IAEA inspectors in to look at North Korea's nuclear facilities. Those kind of things are likely to happen first along the way.
I've been to Pyongyang many times. All over the city, there's propaganda celebrating North Korea as a nuclear power. They even had it written into their constitution. Denuclearization would mean a huge cultural shift. And even if North Korea does agree to denuclearize, there's just so much we don't know about their arsenal. How many nuclear weapons? In how many locations? And how many more nukes could North Korea make if a deal with the U.S. falls apart?
Next today, Hawaii's Big Island is under a red alert. The warning issued by the U.S. Geological Survey means a major eruption could happen at any moment, and that ash clouds boiling up from the Kilauea volcano could affect planes. The ash has gotten more intense this week, and geologists aren't sure exactly why. But even some cruise ships are avoiding the Big Island where the volcano is. Kilauea's latest eruption has affected neighborhoods miles away from its crater. 37 buildings, including dozens of houses, have been destroyed by lava. Most of Volcano's National Park has been closed for the last week, and residents are being told to keep their distance from Kilauea. The lava lake in the volcano's crater has been dropping for weeks now, and officials are concerned that that could lead to a phreatic eruption, when steam from groundwater builds up and causes an explosion. They say that, like so many effects of Kilauea's latest eruption, is very hard to forecast.
Kilauea continues to keep people on their toes even after almost 2 weeks. There are now more than 20 fissures, massive cracks in the earth that have opened up. Let me show you the one that we've been watching now for the past 3 nights. Geologists say that it is actually dying down, though you certainly cannot tell from this vantage point. It continues to spew lava high into the air. Now, these fissures, they're also releasing sulfur dioxide. It is a toxic gas that officials say is creating immediate health risks in some areas. The other concern here is the main crater of Kilauea at the summit. Yesterday, it sent a massive ash plume more than a mile into the sky, blanketing the area downwind. Officials are asking people in that area to stay indoors, or at the very least, wear a mask if they're going outside. Now, this is not the big explosion, though, that people are worried about. Geologists say that one could still come, and if it does, it could send boulders the size of cars flying some half a mile, smaller rocks much further than that. All of that said, with all of this danger, a lot of people in this area, even where we are, a little over a mile from this active fissure, they're not leaving, but they are packed and ready to go if things get worse.
10-second trivia. The malleus, incus, and tympanum are all parts of what? An orchestra, a speaker, the ear, or the foot? They sound like they'd fit in an orchestra, but these are all parts of the ear. And they all come into play in today's 10 out of 10 segment. You might remember an internet debate from a few years back involving the dress. This dress. Some people saw it as blue and black, some saw it as white and gold. A similar idea comes in here, but involves the ear. Have a listen and see if you hear the word Yanni or Laurel.
It says Laurel. It literally says, play it. Okay, hold on, okay.
Laurel.
Yanni. No.
Laurel. 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 Laurel.
Yanni.
What?
Yanni. Yanni.
All I hear is Yanni now.
It's most likely the original recording was Laurel. The interesting thing about the word Yanni is that this second frequency that our vocal tract produces in Yanni follows almost the same path in terms of what it looks like spectrographically as Laurel. And so if you have a low quality recording, it's not surprising that some people would hear Yanni instead of Laurel.
Now, I'm hardly an oracle here, but all I can hear is Laurel. When I first lent an ear, though, I heard Yanni. So no matter what you've heard, what turns out to be music to your ears basically drums down to what sounds good. I'm Carl Azus, and hear this! CNN 10 sounds off again tomorrow.